Your mind won't shut up. Right now, while you're listening to this, there's a voice running in the background, criticizing, judging, comparing, catastrophizing, replaying yesterday's embarrassment, rehearsing tomorrow's disaster, telling you you're not enough, that you'll never be enough, that everyone else has it figured out, and you're the only one drowning, and you can't turn it off. You've tried positive thinking, you've tried distraction, you've tried ignoring it. But the voice doesn't stop. It just gets louder, more creative, more vicious, until you start believing that the voice is you, that these toxic thoughts are the truth about who you are. But here's what that voice doesn't tell you. It's not you, it's noise. Mental pollution that's been accumulating for years. Every criticism you absorbed, every comparison you internalized, every fear you inherited, every doubt someone planted, all of it swirling in your head, masquerading as reality. And the worst part, you're obeying it. Every toxic thought that says, "Don't try," becomes a decision not to act. Every thought that says, "You're not good enough," becomes a reason to stay small. Every thought that says, "They're judging you," becomes anxiety that kills your presence. The voice is running your life, and you don't even realize it. 2,000 years ago, the Stoics faced the same war. Marcus Aurelius commanded armies while toxic thoughts whispered that he was inadequate. Epictetus escaped slavery while his mind told him he was worthless. Seneca advised emperors while battling thoughts that told him he'd never be wise enough. But they discovered something that neuroscience is only now confirming. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that observes thoughts. And once you realize that, once you learn to separate yourself from the noise, you can master your inner world like a warrior masters a battlefield. Today, you're going to learn the 6 Stoic laws that will silence toxic thoughts and give you control of your mind, not by fighting every thought, but by building a system so strong that toxic thoughts lose their power. These aren't affirmations, these are laws. Ancient laws that have worked for 2 millennia, and they'll work for you. Watch until the end. The law you skip might be the one keeping you enslaved. Let's take back your mind. First law: thoughts are events, not commands. Stop obeying them. Here's the lie you've been living. Every thought that enters your mind deserves attention, deserves consideration, deserves to be believed. So when a toxic thought appears, you're going to fail. Nobody likes you. You're wasting your time. You stop everything and address it. You argue with it. You try to disprove it. You let it derail your entire day. You're treating thoughts like commands, like orders you must follow. And that's why they control you. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. A thought appearing in your mind is what happens. Your reaction, believing it, obeying it, spiraling because of it, that's the problem. Here's the truth. Thoughts are just events, like clouds passing through the sky, like cars driving past your window. They appear, they exist for a moment, then they pass. Unless you grab them, unless you invite them in, unless you give them authority they don't inherently have. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Your thoughts are outside events. They happen to you, not from you. Your brain generates thousands of thoughts per day. Most of them are garbage, repetitive garbage, anxious garbage, garbage you didn't ask for and don't need. Here's the practice. When a toxic thought appears, you don't fight it. You don't argue with it. You label it. Thought. That's it. Not my thought, not true thought, just thought. An event. Noted. Moving on. You're going to fail. Thought. Nobody respects you. Thought. You'll never be good enough. Thought. You're not saying it's true. You're not saying it's false. You're saying it's a thought. And thoughts don't get to command your actions. Stop obeying thoughts like they're orders from a superior officer. They're not. They're noise, and noise doesn't deserve your allegiance. Second law, your mind is not designed for happiness. It's designed for survival. You think your mind should make you feel good, should be on your side, should generate positive, encouraging thoughts. And when it doesn't, when it floods you with worst-case scenarios and self-criticism, you think something's wrong with you. Nothing's wrong with you. Your mind is doing exactly what evolution designed it to do: scan for threats, predict danger, keep you alive, not keep you happy, alive. Your ancestors who worried survived. The optimistic ones who assumed everything would be fine, they got eaten. So your brain evolved to catastrophize, to imagine disaster, to focus on what could go wrong, because in the wild, that saved lives. But you're not in the wild anymore. The threats your mind is scanning for, social rejection, professional failure, future uncertainty, aren't life or death. But your brain treats them like they are. So it generates toxic thoughts as warnings, as survival mechanisms, as protection. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Your mind is making you suffer in imagination constantly because it thinks suffering in advance will prepare you for reality. It's trying to help. It's just terrible at it. Here's the shift. Stop expecting your mind to be positive. Accept that it's a survival machine generating worst-case scenarios by default. That's not pathology, that's biology. And once you accept that, you stop taking the thoughts personally. Your mind says, "This will end badly." That's not insight. That's your threat detection system doing its job badly, in a context it wasn't designed for. Acknowledge it. Thank it for trying to protect you. Then make your decision based on reality, not the alarm system. The practice. When toxic thoughts appear, remind yourself, my brain is scanning for threats. This is biology, not truth. Separate the evolutionary function from the present reality. Your mind is running outdated software. You don't have to execute every command. Third law, toxic thoughts feed on attention. Starve them. You know what makes toxic thoughts stronger? Engaging with them, arguing with them, trying to disprove them. Every time you do that, you're feeding them attention, and attention is what they need to survive. Think about it. "I'm not good enough" appears in your mind. You respond, "Yes, I am. Here's all the evidence." Now you're in a debate. The thought counters, "That evidence doesn't count. You just got lucky." You argue back. The thought escalates. You're exhausted. The thought is stronger than ever because you fed it. Marcus Aurelius understood this. He wrote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." Toxic thoughts can't harm you unless you give them power through attention. The Stoics practiced deliberate disengagement, not suppression, not denial. Disengagement. The thought appears. You notice it. You don't engage. You redirect attention elsewhere. Here's the practice. When a toxic thought appears, you acknowledge it exists. Then you shift focus immediately to something you control. The thought says, "You're going to mess this up." You notice it. Then you shift. What's the next action I need to take? Action, not argument. The thought loses fuel because you're not feeding it attention. This feels wrong at first. It feels like you're ignoring something important. But toxic thoughts aren't important. They're intrusive. And intrusive thoughts don't deserve engagement. They deserve starvation. Imagine toxic thoughts like toddlers throwing tantrums. If you engage every tantrum, negotiate with it, explain why it's wrong, try to calm it down, the tantrums increase. But if you acknowledge the tantrum exists and calmly redirect, the tantrums lose power. Your toxic thoughts are tantrums. Stop negotiating, acknowledge, and redirect. Starve the thought. Watch it weaken. Fourth law, you can't stop thoughts from appearing. You can stop them from staying. You think the goal is to eliminate toxic thoughts completely, to reach a mental state where they never appear, and when they do appear, you feel like you failed, like you're broken, like the practice isn't working. That's not the goal. That's impossible. Epictetus taught, "It is impossible to begin to learn that which one thinks one already knows." You think you should already know how to have a clean mind. You don't. Nobody does, because minds don't work that way. Toxic thoughts will appear. Always. That's not failure. That's normal. The Stoics didn't achieve perfection. They achieved management. The thought appears. They notice it. They let it pass. That's the entire practice. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, wrote daily reminders to himself about letting go of toxic thoughts. If he had eliminated them, he wouldn't need the reminders, but he did need them because the thoughts kept coming, and he kept practicing letting them go. Here's the shift. Stop measuring success by whether toxic thoughts appear. Measure success by how long they stay. A toxic thought appears and you spiral for an hour. That's where you are now. Next time, spiral for 30 minutes, then 10, then 2, then 30 seconds. The practice. When a toxic thought appears, you set a mental timer. I notice this thought. I'm giving it 30 seconds. Then I'm redirecting. You observe it for 30 seconds. Not fighting, just observing. When 30 seconds pass, you deliberately shift your attention to something else. An action, a different thought, a physical sensation. The thought will try to come back. It always does. You notice it returned. 30 seconds. Redirect again. You're training your mind like you'd train a dog. Gently, consistently, repeatedly. You can't control what thoughts appear. You can control what thoughts stay. That's the law. Master it. Fifth law, replace the narrative. Don't just delete it. You try to stop toxic thoughts by deleting them. Don't think that. Don't think that. Don't think that. And what happens? You think it more because your brain doesn't process negatives well. Don't think about a pink elephant makes you think about a pink elephant. The Stoics understood this. They didn't just delete toxic narratives, they replaced them with better ones, not fake ones, not delusional ones, better ones, truer ones. Seneca wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." When toxic thoughts said, "This challenge will destroy you," he replaced that narrative with, "This challenge will refine me." Same reality, different story, different outcome. Here's what's happening in your mind. You have default narratives, stories your brain tells automatically. I always mess things up. Nobody takes me seriously. I'm not as smart as them. These narratives run on autopilot, and autopilot narratives become beliefs. Beliefs become actions. Actions become reality. You have to override the autopilot, not by deleting the narrative, by installing a new one. The practice. Identify your 3 most common toxic narratives. Write them down. I'm not good enough. I always fail. People don't like me. Whatever yours are, now rewrite them, not as affirmations, as more accurate truths. I'm not good enough becomes I'm learning and improving daily, not I'm perfect, not I'm the best, just I'm learning. That's accurate, that's true, that's usable. I always fail becomes I've failed before and learned from it. True, accurate, empowering. People don't like me becomes some people like me, some don't, and that's normal for every human. True. When the toxic narrative appears, you don't argue with it. You replace it with the more accurate version, immediately, out loud if possible. The new narrative doesn't have to make you feel amazing. It just has to be more true than the toxic one. Over time, the new narrative becomes the default, not because you forced it, because you practiced it more than the old one. Sixth law, the inner citadel is built daily, not discovered. The Stoics had a concept, the inner citadel. a fortress inside your mind that external chaos cannot breach. You think this citadel is something you find, something you unlock, something you discover during a moment of clarity. It's not. It's something you build, brick by brick, day by day, practice by practice. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." But he also wrote reminders to himself every single day, because the retreat wasn't permanent. It had to be maintained. The citadel had to be reinforced daily. Here's the truth. Toxic thoughts are the invaders constantly attacking your citadel. If you don't maintain the walls, they breach. Every day you skip the practice is a day the walls weaken. Every day you practice is a day the walls strengthen. The practice, daily reflection. Every night, 5 minutes, 3 questions. What toxic thoughts appeared today? How did I respond? What will I do differently tomorrow? You write it down, not to judge yourself, to build awareness, because awareness is the foundation of the citadel. You can't defend against thoughts you don't notice appearing. Marcus Aurelius kept his journal, meditations, not for publication, for himself, to process his thoughts, to reinforce his principles, to maintain his citadel, and that practice made him one of the most resilient leaders in history. Your citadel is built through repetition, through showing up daily to reinforce what's true and reject what's toxic, through practicing the laws even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. No one builds a fortress in a day. You lay one stone. Tomorrow, you lay another. In 6 months, you have a wall. In a year, you have a citadel. In 5 years, you have something toxic thoughts cannot penetrate. The citadel is waiting, but you have to build it, starting today. Here's what happens when you practice these 6 laws daily. You stop obeying thoughts like they're commands and start treating them like events. You accept that your mind is wired for survival, not happiness, and stop taking negative thoughts personally. You starve toxic thoughts by refusing to engage with them. You measure success not by whether thoughts appear, but by how quickly they pass. You replace toxic narratives with accurate ones. And you build your inner citadel daily through reflection and practice. This is how you master your inner world, not by having a perfect mind, but by managing an imperfect one with discipline and wisdom. Marcus Aurelius faced toxic thoughts and ruled an empire. Epictetus faced toxic thoughts and escaped slavery to become a teacher of kings. Seneca faced toxic thoughts and wrote philosophy that changed history. They weren't free from the noise. They were free from being controlled by it. And that freedom is what you're building. Your mind will always generate noise. That's biology. That's being human. But noise doesn't have to run your life. You can observe it. You can let it pass. You can choose what you act on and what you ignore. Toxic thoughts are not the enemy. Believing them is. Obeying them is. Letting them dictate your actions is. You are not your thoughts. You are the warrior who decides which thoughts get to stay and which thoughts get to pass. And warriors don't negotiate with invaders. They defend their citadel. Your inner world is a battlefield. Every toxic thought is an invader. Every practice is a defense. Every day you show up is a victory. The war is constant, but so is your ability to fight it. And fight by fight, practice by practice, day by day, you win. Silence the noise. Master your mind. Build your citadel. Drop in the comments. I observe my thoughts. I do not obey them. Subscribe for more Stoic laws to master your inner world like a warrior. Make it count.